Joycey.
And Blake.
And
welcome to Savagely Scaled.
In this episode, our affiliate of the month sequence, we will be talking with CrossFit Anaheim.
Yes, we sat down with Josh and Kody, and we're really excited about this one because they're looking at CrossFit from a different perspective and how they're going to grow their community actually inside the gym as well as outside the gym. So we're excited for you guys to see what they plan for the future and what they plan to collaborate with everything.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Have Josh and Kody with us.
Woo-hoo!
And we're going to be going over why they decided to be CrossFit owners and what their journey was.
There you
should
go.
we start with the older and wiser?
I don't know about the wiser. Definitely the older.
But thank you for that.
So, Josh, we'll go over, and with Kody too, what made you want to start CrossFit before even thinking about being an owner or going into that
That's a
hole?
great question. I actually was doing Muay Thai beforehand, and one of my friends that was at LAX CrossFit, he was friends with Jamie Hagia. She's a games athlete, and then
Shout out, Jamie.
shout out to Jamie. She needed a DJ to open up our grand opening for her gym. And
You're
so,
a DJ.
Yeah.
talents.
Josh does everything.
So
That's awesome.
That's part of my ADD, though.
Yeah, I get
You have
texts
your
like, I'm
ADHD?
out here painting tonight. I'm like, when did you start painting?
So
Today.
I DJ'd her grand opening, and then they're like, hey, you should do CrossFit. I'm like, I'm good with Muay Thai right now.
Yeah.
And, and sure enough, I drank the Kool-Aid, and now I'm here. And then they created such a magic over at Torrance CrossFit, now Torrance Training Lab, that I just really wanted to recreate that. Coming over to Anaheim CrossFit West in 2014. Yeah.
Okay.
And then meeting Kody and Lisa, the owner previously of that gym, really just got me going and wanted to recreate that magic. And I think we did that.
Yeah, taking back on my story. So for me, it started in the summer of 2011. I was actually living with a group of buddies that I played baseball in high school with. And one of them had finished his college career and was looking for something to do. And so he started coaching at a CrossFit gym and kind of fell in love with it. He had been there like 2.5 months, and he's like, dude, you got to come do this. And at that point, I was just working out in the garage.
Yeah.
And not really knowing what I was doing. Fitness for me had always been like a preventative. I dealt with really bad anxiety and some depression issues back in high school. And it was my way to like get that energy out.
Yeah.
And so he knew that, but he would still give me a hard time about whatever I was doing in the garage because it wasn't CrossFit.
Right.
I was like, yeah, that's stupid. And then it's like, okay, let me look into it. And then you hear the same things you hear about CrossFit still today: injuries, or the people in there are not welcoming, and
It's a
whatever.
cult.
Yeah, exactly.
I always was like, people are bulky.
Yeah,
And I was
right.
Like,
Yeah.
wait a
Well, that's what I
minute.
said. I came in, I was like, I don't want to get bulky.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I was like, I want to get bulky. And then here we are, 13 years later, still not bulky.
Yeah.
So for anybody wondering, it doesn't make you bulky. Unless it's a body type that you already predestined to, in which case
Yeah.
everything is going to make you bulky. But yeah, so he finally said, okay, come try it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try it once. And so you just get off my back, right?
Right.
I went in, I signed up that day. I haven't had a broken membership since that time. That was out at Resolution CrossFit in Yorba Linda. I then went to school in Wisconsin for a year and was working out at CrossFit Lacrosse in Wisconsin, and decided I wanted to get my L1. Came back to San Diego to get my L1, and moved back in January of 2013. And at that time, I started looking for an L1 job after I passed, connected with the Anaheim CrossFit West with Lisa. And before Lisa, it was Stephanie, which ironically, the gym we own today was actually the parental figure of all the gyms that exist in Anaheim.
Oh, wow.
What?
We can get into that story because it's also kind of funny. So the
What?
owner was Stephanie. I got hired a week later. She sold the business to Lisa. And so I was like, who's this Lisa chick? And then, that was a fun ride. I coached there for 4 years. Met Josh there. Met a bunch of the people who are actually members today there.
Wow.
When I left there, 30 or so members followed me up to Yorba Linda to go coach at my home gym. That gym is 2 locations, about 400 members, and they've been
Wow.
up since 2009. So they were like original
Nice,
fire
yeah.
breathers. Still really, really close with them. And then Josh basically one night texted me. He's like, "You want to buy a CrossFit gym?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he sent me a Facebook Marketplace listing.
No
I was
way.
working on my watercolors, and I just
Yeah,
decided
exactly.
that
on my
this would
DJ set.
I was sitting at my kitchen table with my sounding bowl, and I saw this Marketplace ad. And so he sent me a Marketplace ad, and he's like, "Hey, you want to buy a CrossFit gym?" And I was like, "This is a joke." Like you see like G7 airplanes on Facebook
Yeah.
Marketplace, and like, no, that guy's not actually. This is a
can't be
scam.
real.
This is 100% a scam. He's like, "No, I've already talked to the guy." Like, I was like, "Okay," and I was like,
I
"Well."
just need your okay.
I just need
Yeah.
your social security.
So then I said, I need to go talk to my wife. And
Yeah.
I work, my office used to be in my garage. And so I poked my head into the house and I was like, "Hey, babe." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Can I buy a CrossFit gym?" She's like, "I don't care." I was like, "Josh, we're in." Then it started, it snowballed, and haven't looked back since.
Nice.
That's amazing.
What made you guys like want to become owners in that sense of like, other than, hey, Marketplace, this sounds like a great idea, business.
If you don't shop on Marketplace, though, I mean, there's a lot
There's
of
a-
stuff.
there's
there's
a
some
lot of
really
good
good
stuff
like
stuff,
there.
market- yeah.
and things go quick.
Yes, they do.
I'm like, hey, man,
It's gone. So we snatched that first CrossFit gym off. I think we might be the only Marketplace transaction for a CrossFit gym.
I
Actually,
don't
now that I think
know.
about it.
I've
I don't
never-
know about
yeah,
that.
it has to be
There's
first.
definitely has been.
Maybe.
Um,
Not as successful as ours, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Right?
It wasn't actually it wasn't something that we had sought to do. Back in 2017, we were sitting at the CrossFit Games. We were afforded the opportunity to get out there on Greg
Greg
Glassman's
Glassman's dime.
Is
Yeah.
that like the
picture that we saw at your other gym?
Anaheim?
Yeah.
Such a cool
She
picture.
was like, one day, and I was like, man, that's an awesome picture.
It's an awesome
Who are
picture,
those
yeah.
bros? Because I didn't have my glasses. So
Mm.
I
Well,
was
it was
like,
their back, so you couldn't really
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
their face,
I
but
was
it's
like,
just
that's
a dope picture.
That was when the whole thing started of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we kind of ran a gym together?
Yeah.
We were doing it a little bit, but really not like intentionally like, okay, this is our game plan, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We were just kind of just floating in the ether.
Well,
just
and even
doing
at that point, when we had talked about it, we knew that the gym we were both at was kind of in a struggling place. Like, I was managing the location, and there were some things going on that I wanted to get in and fix, and it just, the opportunity didn't present itself for us to kind of jump in.
Yeah.
But we look back at it now, and it's like it wouldn't be what we are today if we would have started then, because our connections, our experience, all those kind of things weren't at the level to be as successful as I think we have been and will be as we continue in this sphere. The funnier part about that picture, though, is it's actually staged, because if you're thinking,
Aren't they all?
who took that picture? If you guys are the ones there, Josh likes to do those things. And the best part about it, though, was that it came true, right? Like, we joked that,
true.
like, hey, let's take this picture. Maybe we look back at it somewhere in the future and like, okay, now we own a gym and this is a really cool photo. And most of the time, those stage photos don't come to fruition, but this one did.
That's awesome.
So props to Josh for forward thinking and really kind of speaking it into existence. in a
Maybe
way.
that means
I
we
could
need to
just,
take
like,
a photo.
imagine you like, hey, nobody walk past this. This is going to be an amazing
Yeah.
picture right here. I'm setting it up.
Well, we were smart.
Cheryl, no.
Yeah, exactly. It was smart enough that Josh did it during like one of the heats, so
Yeah.
everybody was glued to that same screen. we were
Yeah.
on. So we
What's
just
he
sat in
doing?
a pocket. We just sat in like a clear pocket, and Josh's like, "Let me go put my camera over there and sit
Everybody's
down."
like, oh, how cute.
Yeah.
they're
I
having a
know.
And he's
moment.
like, "Just stare at the thing like we've been doing." I was like, "Why would I stare at the camera? Like I'm not going to turn around and look at." So that was cool.
Like, where?
Also, I really enjoyed the games out in Wisconsin. I think
Yeah.
the setup
Such
was
an amazing,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
Amazing
looked
experience.
amazing
It
compared
did.
to
That was the
some
first year
other
that they had in
things.
Wisconsin too. So
Yeah.
it was,
And I got to go back to my school roots where, I
That's
was
right,
by
yeah.
Madison, so that was cool.
I was getting excited because I was telling my husband, I was like, okay, the next year that they have, and they're like, we're moving. And I was like, damn it, I've always wanted to go to Wisconsin.
I would say it's an underrated state. Also, if you
Yes.
want, they have the most beer per capita. La Crosse has the most bars per capita, and the Wisconsin Dells have the most water parks per capita. So a bunch of things you would never have known about Wisconsin.
I
and
did
now
not
you do.
know.
That's where we're
The more you
going.
know.
Wisconsin nerd.
Yeah.
I know.
Can
I'm
we edit that
intrigued.
in the
Yeah.
Nobody can
Can
see it.
add
I'm
that in
realizing
for
that.
sure.
Right?
We
The
do that
more
all
you
the
know.
time with our hands.
You're like, this was not
and
sponsored
I'll
by
be like,
Wisconsin.
and Tracy's moving her hands.
Brought
up
to you
and
by
down.
Spotted Cow.
Yeah.
There you go. We could add that in the little notes
Yeah.
of the section.
That was a
Let's
good
just add
beer.
that on.
It is a good beer. It's a great
Oh,
beer.
they have a beer?
Yeah, it's called Spotted Cow.
And they sell it out here too?
Yeah, you can buy it here.
All right.
Made in
I'm
Wisconsin?
sold. You're going to have
the
to.
sandwich shop.
I think so, yeah. I
There's
think
a
so.
sandwich shop.
They just went lunch.
I know.
We just worked out, so we're just.
I
we're
know.
like,
No,
yeah,
Spotted
we're
Cow
ready.
if there's a Packers bar for sure, they're gonna have Spotted Cow.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, now kind of jumping into your affiliate in particular in your community and the people here, what does your affiliate like really mean to you? And how did you I guess, come to the conclusion of how you wanted your affiliate to be?
That's a great question. I think for me, my intention was to have a continuation of where we left off.
Yeah.
And it really is kind of like a full circle moment for Kody and I, but more so the community that has come back to us as a testament to what we stood for back then. Right. So it really just is it's like, we'll just fill in the pages in between, but just continue the journey.
Yeah, the easiest way to sum up Josh's vision is Stitch, when every time he's like, Ohana, and that's Josh's idea of CrossFit. It's just like everything is Ohana, everything's family, everything is build that community. And for me, there's definitely that aspect to it. Obviously, CrossFit has changed my life. I met my wife through CrossFit. I've met some of my dear friends through CrossFit. It's become the pinnacle of where most of my social circle started. The guy that married my wife and I was from the CrossFit gym. And so that part of it is extremely important. But over the last 2 years, I now have two two-year-old twins, twin girls. And it shaped the outlook of everything that I do. And it really took what was initially this idea of a CrossFit gym and kind of expanded that into something that is going to leave a mark as a brand and not just as a CrossFit gym. Because if you guys are familiar, like there are thousands of CrossFit gyms across the United States.
Right.
And it seems like every single one of them has the same problems. It's how do we maintain membership? How do we pay the bills day to day? Costs are going up. How do I give back to my members? How do I hire coaches that are quality? How do I deliver a product that isn't the same thing as everybody next door? And so for me, I wanted to build it into something that my girls would be able to look back on and go, not only did Dad run a successful business and maintain his career and have time for us, but he built a community that's now teaching those things inside of their own family and giving time back to those people to do it. And so I came to Josh with this idea. And I think when Josh first heard it, he was the first person I had to convince, like, we're going to do this big. Like, I'm not here to make $5,000 over the course of the year and just pay our coaches and struggle. That's not the type of life I want with this gym. And I don't think it's the thing that Josh wanted ultimately, because this is his bet. This is his his future now. And for me, it would be a disservice to him to not make sure that we had the resources and things that provide him the life he wants to have. And so it's turned into this idea of a holistic health center, which is going to include aspects of not just your physical fitness, but it's going to include metrics of your physical health. Biomarkers, we're going to bring in healthcare specialists that are tied into the nutrition world. That's a really big thing in culture right now, as you're seeing, even like in the presidential race, this has become front and center in terms of like the health, make America healthy again, right?
Yeah.
Which I can't remember in my lifetime any time that health and nutrition has been talked about at that level. And I was like, what great timing, because this is what we're currently trying to build. And then the last piece is we're actually bringing in financial planning and access to alleviate your budgets and your debts and your things like that, because that's what I do professionally. And so we're going to leverage all these pieces that we have as a community and give back to our membership, so that not only is your physical fitness healthy, your actual wellness and well-being is healthy. And then we want to make sure we take away any of the financial stress that we can do as well. So while we might not be the cheapest gym in the area, we're going to make it feel lighter on your pocketbook because of the value brought back to you, or because we're actually able to get your budget under control and make sure that what you're paying for are the high ticket items that mean something to you. And we're, either taking out the noise or making sure we make more freedom for your family.
Yeah. I mean, just walking in here, and we have smaller gyms back home, but I told her, I was like, oh my gosh, they have hair ties and tampons and pads. And I was like, because some gyms don't. And I was like, some members are like, I don't mind paying extra because I get this. I get like I have. And I was like, it's really sometimes the little things that equate to the big things. And I feel like some of the ones that are struggling aren't remembering that the members are important in a way. And we also need to take care of them. And that includes like the gym, what it looks like. What are we offering? What are our coaches doing, and are they up to par with everything? Are they wanting to grow? Because even our veteran members want to grow. They should continue to grow too, and we should have coaches that push them. And so it's like awesome to hear that that's what you guys are planning on doing. And it's just being very aware of how to do it and everything. So that's awesome. And
I mean, Josh is extremely big on like customer value. That's like so our two roles are separated. I'm mostly back end, typically because I think overly rationally I can be a little cold. I can be, which is funny because once you get to know me, I'm not like that. But if I don't know you, like I'm not investing any extra capital. I've got my emotional capital.
That's how I got to know him.
Yeah, Josh.
Is that when you wear your glasses? So you're like, I'm a businessman.
no,
you cannot talk to me like that.
No, but it works out perfectly because Josh is the heartbeat, right? So Josh is the guy on the floor. He's the one, kissing babies and shaking hands and building.
That's Blake.
That's yours?
That's why when Josh was like, oh no, they can introduce, I was like, I don't care walking up to people. I'll be like, I'll just make eye contact.
Yeah.
You look crazy. Be like, you want to do an interview, don't you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. And then they're like, wow,
Get away.
that was really simple. I was like, see, not so bad. I just looked crazy to begin with.
Just roped him in.
Just crazy
Well,
red
when you
hair.
start
And
the bar
like,
with crazy and they're like, oh, it wasn't crazy. That was a lot easier to warm up to than I
Yep.
thought it was. But really, like Josh is the reason that the community is built. My job is to make sure that the community is paid for.
like
right?
the
And
business
so
side of it.
that divide for us has been huge because if there is an emotional problem on the floor, Josh can get into it without having to worry about the numbers because we've already had the discussion on where we are. It's happened to us at least twice during these growth periods when we've kind of moved to the different gyms and grown each location, which we can get into. But it pays dividends to have distinctions in your roles as ownership group. And it also leads to way less conflict between he and I because we know the lanes and we understand here are the things you're allowed to do unilaterally. Here are the things that we need, communication on. And here are the things that like don't matter in the grand scheme of where we're trying to go. And those things we just let go of. So that's been a huge shift. And like, I couldn't have asked to this point of a better partnership to have gotten in this and have the success we've had so far.
Yeah, I think like with this type of business and everything, like having a good partnership, like our gym has 3. We've talked to Thousand Oaks who just has 1. And it's that like being the singular person is hard to not also be like, okay, well, I will coach and I will do all those hours and I can't step back and things like that. Like, I feel like having a partnership is really good. 3 is hard, but a partnership, if you find that person that you could be like, hey, that is your side, this is my side. Like it works very well.
Yeah, it does. Agreed.
Yep.
And kind of further on the question of, because I think it's a beautiful kind of idea how when we interview other gyms too, they have the same perception of we're creating or generating people here that are going to be able to step out of the gym and still have strong livelihoods. And I love how you kind of mentioned we're not only focusing on physical, we're focusing on mental, financial, and all of these aspects of the gym. Yeah. So can you go into a little bit further detail for those of us who don't know Anaheim CrossFit? Like what are the services that you do offer here as a member of your gym?
Yeah, we've been really big on, and what we found as our niche is to kind of the savagely scaled brand of like fundamentals. Our biggest thing that we've fallen into now that we have a new generation of kind of CrossFitters that want to get into the space or very intimidated about it. We have a fundamentals course that's like 5 one-on-one training sessions, and then they get a month included in that. But we'll be evolving that as we move into a new location. But that's kind of like our bread and butter. Like everyone's kind of flocking in and checking out other gyms in the area that don't provide that service or are not at the level that they feel comfortable with, of like when they come into the gym and they look around and they're like, I don't want to do that. And then, and then they come into our gym and they're like, oh, this looks like a good group of people that, that I can feel safe with. And our coaches have been on board with a lot of the fundamentals training as well.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main services that we offer. And then that's, and then we just really just go into unlimited membership. Just have one plan.
Really? Just one plan.
So we're simplifying. Obviously, when we assumed the business, there was a bunch of all these different plans, and bro deals are like the crux of what handicaps business owners inside the space.
Bro deals are fun.
We're in California, which arguably, other than maybe a few other locations, has the highest cost of living and cost of business than anywhere, and it's constantly rising. And it's what we were finding is a lot of these gyms hadn't moved their price points. But they're not moving their price points because they can't offer more or better service. And a lot of that is just time constraints for people running it by themselves. The biggest thing that I told Josh when we come into this is that we have to shift our mindset from entrepreneur into like a C-level. We need to get as fast as we can into vision planning and growth and put people in place and pay for people in place to do the entrepreneurial things. That's making sure the coaches show up, making sure the schedules are done, making sure the program's ready. We need that off of our plate so we can think about how do we grow the brand beyond our footprint. When we bought CrossFit Anaheim originally, it was 20 to
36 members.
36 members, and half of them were open gym. So they weren't even attending classes.
Yeah.
By April of 24, so right about our year mark, we were up to about 98 members. and we heard through the grapevine that 1886 was looking to exit. And so I told Josh, hey, like, let's go look at this, and this could be part of a building out our vision if the shoe fits. And so we floated around, and the shoe fit. We bought it, and now we're sitting right about 200 members, 2 locations, ready to unify into one piece. And in that unification is where we're going to start to expand our services. So once we get under one roof, we reduce redundancies and kind of take out all the external costs that are repetitive in the business. Our goal is to build in those things that I've mentioned. So ideally, there's going to be one membership package. It's unlimited. On top of the unlimited, there are going to be like optional things you can get, like nutrition counseling. Those are more like concierge build-ins, but our membership basis is going to be one menu item. And the reason for that is if I'm offering a discount on my planning, I'm asking my coaches to sacrifice their pay. I'm asking them to sacrifice their time for their education that they've got to put in to develop. And ultimately, I'm going to chase the same coaching go around that we do all the time. Our requirement after we move is going to be that every coach is at a level 2 within a year of employment. And that's a requirement because all of our training that we do with our staff is level 2.
I think that's amazing because level 2 goes into coaching.
Exactly.
Level 1, like when I took my level 1, there was people who just started CrossFit
Yeah,
and
it's
just
methodology,
wanted to know more.
right?
And I was like, oh, this is like not like how. There was little parts, of course, like how to like eye squats and start to, but like breaking everything down for level 2.
It's like this is the bare minimum information you need to know to what CrossFit is doing so you can pay attention and start developing, right? And it's necessary. You have to have the methodology. And the way we've structured our business is based off of a level 1 knowledge base and level 2 coaching experience. So that's the way it works. Like we are going back to the fundamentals of what CrossFit is as a holistic approach to health, not we'll make everybody believe they're going to the games and we're going to put them through grueling workouts every single day, because it's our job as the experts to teach them that high intensity isn't maximal intensity. Those things are subjective. So in that, we've moved the way we coach and all that kind of stuff to be in line with that. And I know there's some questions coming up, so I won't dive too far into it. But the packages that we're going to have is that one unlimited package. We're going to have some options for the financial side, like I mentioned, debt accountability. You can do your wealth accumulation. We're also building in a contract that will essentially put our membership as non-equity shareholders, so we can offer them healthcare.
Wow.
That allows them to tap into the healthcare programs I offer my coaching staff. It's going to allow them to tap into retirement planning if they want to do a 401k or anything with us as well. My company that I work for called Policy Engineer is going to help backbone a lot of these financial resources, so they're involved, which is great because then they don't harass me about my two things. And they're fully supportive. Josh has also met them a couple times, and they're like all in on it. And then we want to be able to do things like have a biomarker test every year, part of your membership. So you're going to come in, be able to get a blood draw. We'll be able to look at your insulin levels. We're going to look and see if we can find any I think it's called LP lower A, which is basically it's a lipoprotein that helps delineate whether or not you're a precursor to early onset heart disease. And so you're going to have all these metrics. You're going to have an explanation chart that goes through, here's what you're looking for, here's why these things matter. That's going to be delivered. But the biggest thing we're going to do is build in goal setting. So our coaches are all going to have onboard interviews with every new member and our current members when they get re-onboarded during this change, where there's going to be goal setting done. You're going to talk about your next year in CrossFit. What are you trying to achieve? It gives you a mission, it gives you buy-in, and it gives you a task, right? So now across the year, you'll have a 15-minute call every quarter with the coach and say, hey, how have you moved across the timeline we built to get to your goal? Your goal was to do a muscle up this year. What are we doing to get there? Do you need help? What access do you need? What are you doing in classes when you come in by yourself that push you toward those goals? The biggest issue with CrossFit retention rates aren't that people don't enjoy the community. It's that they see a stop in progress because you come in untrained. For 2 years you train, and all of a sudden your body's like, okay, cool, I got this. And then you plateau for 4 years because you don't know what to look for anymore. The same concept, that's why people enjoy the strength and Metcon piece, because they're like, I know I can see myself lift more. That felt better. I can see these changes every day. But that's a lack of the business teaching you what to look for in your journey. And so we want to be that holistic approach that teaches you how to live holistically through your gym membership. And then it's going to have all these other ancillary benefits that are included in it. So that's the main goal.
I'm sold.
Yeah, I was like, goal setting, especially when you become an adult, is so hard. But once you have that and having members set their goals and having people check in on them is, I think that's
above and beyond. Yeah.
And that's like,
you're offering like therapy services, you're offering financial services,
Well,
health. It's
So what I would say too is it's like, it's not the goal. Anybody can set a goal. Like, friends all the time. They're like, okay, I'm going to diet and I'm going to go lose this kind of weight. And then what happens? They stop.
it's maintaining.
Yeah, it's maintaining, but it's an accountability that's hard.
yeah, it's like you're offering that accountability
Exactly.
section. And it's also having your coach grow
Mm-hmm.
into being that instead of you're just a coach and you just have to read what's on the board. Because I've been to tons of gyms like that and it's just like, okay, well.
Coaching retention is 100% the first precursor to watch before your gym fails.
Mm-hmm.
If your coaches start rotating like a merry-go-round, the membership won't buy in because they're not building relationships. Everybody they build a relationship that they have bought into is leaving.
Right.
Our goal is to have, at some point in the next 5 years, every one of our main coaches at near six-figure salaries so that this can be their career, so they can buy into being able to teach all the aspects of this, and they're wanting to be educated at a level that pays their family salaries, gives them flexibility, and allows them to impact people's lives in a way that is not just showing up at a gym, running people through a timer, and then sending them home. It's actually excited to watch Susie at 77 be able to step up on a curb because she was having to take ramps up the sidewalk. Watching people's... I told Josh this. My ultimate goal with this gym is 10 years from now to run a study in the city of Anaheim and prove that CrossFit Anaheim has increased life expectancy in the city because of the access to things that we offer and having done that in the right way and teaching people how to do it.
Right.
So that's the ultimate mission about where we're headed.
That's amazing. And I think it's great because I feel like in a way you're addressing a lot of the things that people do come to the gym for. Like we're stressed at work, we're having anxiety from all the issues, that personal things going outside. So you're allowing them a space to kind of be themselves and kind of get away from that.
Well,
but
even step back
them.
from that. What's the first question people ask when they get here? How much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can I afford this, right?
That was my next question. I was going to be like, if you're
We're
not
like, wait.
comfortable, if it's like one of those, once you load it into your cart, you'll see the price.
No. No. We're going to be upfront and honest. Like I want to be able, and this is something we're working on now, is to be able to create like a menu that's going to say, here's our one item. You're going to look at one item on the sheet, but under that item is going to be subtitled of everything you get out of this.
Right.
Here's your total cost value if you did all these things separately. Here's how it works if you do it with us, right? And then on top of the base unlimited package, here are all the things we offer that you can also opt into as a partner inside of what we're doing here.
Right.
One of the hardest things, now that I work in finance, the one thing I've noticed with people is that the things you don't talk about are the things you ignore, right? And you don't talk about it because you don't want to confront whatever it is that is hard to communicate or hard to convince people of. And so as a CrossFit gym, if my job is to sell my business, I need to not be afraid to put our value out there. The same way that if a coach is out on the floor, I don't take the discount because I'm asking that coach to take less pay.
Right. Yep.
Well, how is he going to buy into what we're doing if I'm diluting his value in front of him to a member to appease my membership roles? One of the biggest conversations Josh and I talked about was when we bought 1886, the average revenue per month per member was right about 130, which is like 2012 level.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And it wasn't anything to do with just not looking at numbers and kind of going through that. And Pat, now the previous owner, is a part of our team. And it was nothing against him, but it's just not looking at numbers like it's important to the business. And so when I looked at that, I told Josh, I was like, we could lose 25% of the gym. But if we move our price point where it needs to be, we could lose that 20%. We're going to generate more revenue for the business, for those people who stay, than losing the 25%, because the retention rate on people who are willing to pay more to stay here, the buy-in is higher, which means they're not cost shopping every month, which means I don't have to worry about people coming in. I mean, we had 6 people from another gym come by and they're like, well, we're paying $145 over there. I was like, okay, great. I'm not going to ask my coach to accept their metrics unless they're coaching over there.
Yeah.
Because our metrics and what we're asking them to stand up to is totally different.
Right.
And if you want something different, which is why I'm assuming you're coming to us, we're going to expect that you have an understanding that you're going to pay for something different. But what I can tell you, what I can promise you, what my goal and Josh's goal is to make sure that you get that return on value.
Yeah.
Blake, I want to address something that you had said on kind of like also on prices. We have an overarching goal. Our mission value on our kind of handbook is we want to reach 0.003 of Anaheim's population. That is what data guy?
So there's about 550,000 people in the city of Anaheim. So 0.003 comes out to just about 1,100 people.
Yeah. So 1,100 people.
Yeah.
How do we do that? We're not going to get them all in the gym, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we've done and what I've seen just overall in the CrossFit space is, are we reaching people outside of the gym who can't afford it? One, we're bridging that gap with what Kody just talked about. But two, really trying to get out in the city.
Yeah.
And have everyone go, oh, I know CrossFit Anaheim. I don't go to that gym, but I want to, I'm very curious about it.
Yeah.
The more and more they see us out there, being in the parks, doing event activations with the city, that's something that I want to be doing as we move the company forward.
Yeah, that's 100%. We will be the squeakiest wheel in the city of Anaheim, so everybody pays attention to us. I've already yelled at our affiliate rep up at CrossFit HQ and just stated, I was talking with her the other day, and she's like, every time I talk to you just get me so excited. I was like, that's what I want out of everybody. I want that, somebody needs to pay attention to what they're doing over there.
Yes.
I mean, don't be surprised within the next 5 years if you see CrossFit Anaheim shirts at your Globo gym, and they're doing programming there, but there's still a community that comes out to events and stuff like that. They don't have to be at our specific location in order to achieve the community and the fitness.
That's a good point. I'm thinking of Carol, who does PT, and it's she has a lot of clients who don't necessarily come to class, but they come and see her for physical therapy services or all the other nutrition. We have people who come in for that.
Not everybody comes in for that.
Right.
But with you guys with the health and then the financial. But what is your unlimited price right now?
So right now we're sitting at $190.
Okay.
And the way we're kind of running, or we've decided to run the business, is for the current members who are already buying into our vision, allowing us to kind of start executing these things.
Yeah.
They're going to be grandfathered in when we transfer over. So their rates, so people who buy in early, who are like, I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm going to take this risk with the gym. I like the community, the culture here. They're going to be locked in at what they pay with what's called a COLA increase or cost of living adjustment every couple years, right? So that we can just make sure that our costs as they move are being adjusted for. But that ends up being $10 to $20 over 2 or 3 years, depending on when we decide to do it. Our goal is to be at a price point near $300 a month with a return of $600 to $700 back in value.
Okay.
That could change depending on what I'm able to actually build in. It could change up, it could change down. Just depends on when we start putting these things in place, what our actual cost is to do it. We have an idea. So the 300 number isn't just made up out of thin air. I'm pricing things in as we're doing this and then trying to see what that does to our overall number. But we're basically going to have the people who are here are our pre-sale, our pre-public offering, if you will. And then once we move into one location, everything's brand new. We have everything polished up. We look like that top tier gym that exists. Then we're going to see a slight shift up. So it'll be probably $225, somewhere in that range for the first, next 6 months. We have a membership number. Once we hit a membership number, then we'll click to our full price.
Okay.
So it's you can buy in early, and the earlier you buy in, the cheaper this is going to be for you, and you still get the full value, right?
Yeah.
And so we really want it to be fair to the people who've invested in us and poured into us and then trusted us through series of
transitions and
series of change that they've had to do. Series is with Z's of change, right? Because change is hard. We knew coming in here, the first thing we did when we bought 1886 was a town hall. We called as many people who wanted to come hear our vision. And I saw so many eyes roll. I even got told that it felt like a timeshare meeting.
Oh,
because nobody talks about the things we talk about in those pitches. And to have somebody come in who's running a tiny 2,000 square foot box, now buying your 10,000 square foot box, and tell you, here are our visions, our dreams, and what we want to do, and then tell you we're going to generate over $1 million in revenue at some point in the future, it makes eyes roll. Because we've seen it. Nobody in CrossFit space is doing that. That's not, I was but I say it out loud because it holds me accountable to what I'm telling my members we want to go to, right? And if we hit 75% of that metric, we've outpaced everybody in our area by significant margins.
Wow. That's true.
Well, I like a town hall better than an email or a text. Hey, we're changing. This is what we're doing, and you can even do. And that way, you can have answer those questions. I mean, seeing eye rolls is well, then we're here to prove you wrong, and if not, then you proved us.
Yeah.
I mean, truth be told, I was expecting angry mob and
pitchforks and tiki torches.
You don't know what it's like out here.
But for the handful of people, I already knew kind of going in because we had coached them at previous gyms beforehand. So I had the confidence knowing, all right, I have these guys championing us, so we're going to be slightly okay.
Right. Well, we got some support.
The best part was the coaching staff.
Right.
The coaching staff is like,
Yeah.
we understand the business side. We know it's hard,
Yeah.
and we're going to buy in. And there was zero hesitation from the staff that we retained to go in and shift the way that they coached, to step up to what we were requiring them to step up to.
Yeah.
I got a text yesterday from one of our members about one of the original 1886 coaches that we ended up promoting to a manager, who basically said, you need to retain him at all costs. Like unsolicited text message from a member who said, this guy is so good, you cannot let him go anywhere else. I want that every day. I want our members to feel that value every day. Nobody's going to leave our gym if our coaches are making people feel that way.
Right.
They just won't go anywhere. There's no reason to. You get your therapy, you get your finance, you get your health, right? Like everything's here. So if I can do that for them. But the other side of that is like, this isn't about Josh and I. This isn't about, yes, like we need to make it so that it pays Josh's bills and that it's a nice little revenue stream for me and all. We have a couple other investors who are behind us that are in a silent position, but it's not about that. And the reason these people bought in with us was because it's about the membership base. We're CrossFit Addicts Crux is built on that health and wellness continuum. If you're not focusing on moving people from one side to the other, I talk with my hands and it's smacking. If you're not actively every day moving people further to wellness, wherever they are, and meeting people where they are in that wellness continuum, you're not doing CrossFit. You may be labeled as CrossFit. You may be using the method or the trademarking to grow a business, but it's not CrossFit. If you're not doing what the level 1 handbook teaches as CrossFit methodology, that's not CrossFit. You're doing CrossFit adjacent. And there might be successful businesses who do it that way. But CrossFit on its own, to me, empirically driven, is the way to improve every metric of your life when it's done and taught well. We just need to do it and teach it well.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's our business pitch more than anything else.
Which is good because
So I wasted all the other words explaining that.
that hour of talking, this is basically what it means.
Yeah.
Sentence
So you guys are just going to cut out that clip and be like, all right, that was our podcast.
That was it. Done. That was
and that was
covered.
good, right?
No, it was. I appreciate it. I think it was a well-rounded explanation of kind of where you're at and where you want to go. So let's get a little bit deeper into your staff, because you talked a little bit about your coaches. So tell us a little bit about the coaches that are here with you now and how you found them, how, they're with the community, things like that.
You
We can get it. Yeah.
Okay. I told you I talk a lot. And this is why Josh lets me the vision.
He's like, you got it.
Yeah. He's the implementation. I'm like, here's what we're doing. And he's like, all right, how do I put it in there?
Yeah.
So because we came in with this thought process of coaches drive the business, right? Like we talked about it already, that the constant turnover is where you're going to see your business loss. If you can't build relationships, people aren't going to stay, because that's what they come here for first. And then everything else follows behind it. So we have to earn that trust. So when we came into the original spot at CrossFit Anaheim, we met with them the week we were about to take over. And we just said, hey, here's who we are. Here's what our vision is. Where are your guys' heads at in all this process? Who wants to stay? Who is unsure? What convincing do you need to be a part of this team? And then we'll interview you after that point. Because I need to know, are you interested? Because I'm not going to waste my time on people who maybe are just like, changes here, I'm over this, I'm out. I don't want those people. We kept 80% of the staff over there, and everybody else who left was because they either moved or they had a career change and they were just looking for a reason to step away, and everything is a good relationship. And so those guys, we had our first, every quarter we do a coaching session, in-person level 2 style coaching session where we put them through application of what the methodology teaches, and then the level 2, how we implement that in classes.
Okay.
And so when we first did that, I was like, guys, I know you're not used to doing this. And every single one of the original staff at CrossFit Anaheim was like, no, this is cool. Like, I actually enjoy that I'm being poured back into. And then it came to the conversation of like, okay, so we need to support this, right? We can't ask you to get better if we're not as a business supporting that education and growth.
Right.
So we have a way now for the gym to help you pay for at least 50% of whatever credentialing you feel like you want to go out there and get, as long as you could tie it back to what you're doing here as a coach. We also implemented a CEU system, or a continuing education system, where coaches are required in a year to complete X amount of CEUs. And that's anything from listening to a podcast and doing a write-up that just says, here's what I'm going to take into my class. It could be an Instagram post you saw and say, here's how I applied that. Anything you could tie back to how you're developing your coaching, you get credit for. So it's not this overbearing metric that like, oh crap, this is just something they're using for performance. It's a buy-in. I want to see that you're bought in. This is how I know you're bought in, because you're constantly developing. And so that's another part of it. But more than anything else, it's finding people who are salt of the earth, who give a shit about what they do, because that's the base level. If you give a shit, we can do everything else. We can support you with everything else. But coaches who don't give a shit and they're just there to coach like read a clock and make their couple bucks every hour and then leave. Like, it's not somebody who will work here. So then when we came over to 1886, we used our coaching staff who had already bought into us to talk to the coaching staff here. And there was zero hesitation. I think we had 2 people leave at the beginning. We had some others over time walk away because they had new things coming, which we already knew about. We have another coach who's about to have his first kid, so we know he's going to need some time away. But everybody who stayed with us for some amount of time has bought into that L2 vision of like, oh yeah, this is what it is to coach. Oh my God, I actually enjoy coaching when people are getting the information they need to get better, right? I'm not just here wasting time, collecting a little bit extra money to go on dates. Like, I am here to pour into people, and the paycheck is a bonus, right? The other side of that is they're all W-2 employees. So they all have their payroll system. They can go put this on their tax reports. So that means if they need to show income for buying a home or some other things, they actually have a way to prove their income. They are all insured. They're all not necessarily health insurance. They have to opt into that part. So it's up to them. But they all have like workers' comp protection. They all have everything that comes with natural employment within the state of California. They are covered at that level as well. They can opt into the health insurance. They can opt into retirement planning if they want to. We're just not big enough to start supporting that on our own, which is the direction we're going. But ultimately, we want to have a core of 3 to 5 coaches who we're paying almost 6 figures to be here every day. And this is their bread and butter. They come here and they pour into our membership. And then we're going to have a floater class whose job is to fill in the gaps when our guys need vacations.
That's smart.
They get to come to the trainings the same way. They get to develop the same way. The biggest piece that we're going to be developing in the next year or so is to now take what we're doing with our staff and sell it as a membership to other gyms so that they can pay us to come train their staff, or we'll have trainings on site at our location where our staff is now training these other staff to go improve other gyms, because we don't have this competitive, like, we're not CrossFit gym adverse, meaning if you're familiar with most gyms, they fight with each other because it's like, there's only 10 people. There's only 10 people we can all hire. And it was like, we grew 24 members in the last month. Between right now and the beginning of August, we're up 24 members.
Wow.
Because we are not looking at this like a competition, and we're not sitting here going, well, how cheap do I have to allow you in? We're saying, if you want to be a part of this team, you're going to want to be a part of this team. If you don't, then that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's not for everybody. But that allows me to then go, okay, my coaches are going to buy in. You're going to get everything you want here. And then I want those coaches to go create more of themselves. Part of that is if I need to hire more coaches, now I know there's a larger hiring pool of qualified people around us. But bigger than that, if they go through our training program, we're going to help support them in getting hired on professionally wherever they go. Meaning they're going to know their value. They're going to know what to ask in terms of price per hour if that's the way the gym runs it, or a salary if that's the way the gym runs it. And they're going to be able to put on their resume, hey, I was trained here on how to be a coach like this. And so we can build head coaches that go out as opposed to just L1s who go get hired at some podunk gym and are stuck with management. I want them to go in and change culture. I want them to be like, I understand how to run this business now. Let me be your head coach and let me modify this business and grow you into a powerhouse. So that's kind of a short story long on what our mission is with the coaches.
Can I quickly break down kind of like the composition of our coaching staff too?
Sure,
just because I'm so grateful that we have been lucky and fortunate enough to get the coaches that we do have. So the 2 that we started with from CrossFit Anaheim, they've been OGs. Thomas has been there since the beginning in 2009.
Wow.
And then Coach Dave, who 3 years? 3 years ago? Yeah, 3 years.
Which Athena said that he was amazing. Because I was like, hey, I'm going to Anaheim. And she's like, oh yeah, somebody came
Dave,
and she was like, his name's Dave. And I was like, you remember him? And she's like, yeah, I remember
Dave's gonna
him.
love that.
Yeah.
Because Dave talks about Athena all the time. Right.
So do I.
Well, she does. So you let him know.
One of our biggest goals is to have, a bigger body athlete kind of introduction class, and then
you let me know when that happens. I will pay money for that.
So we really want to kind of be more open to the types of things that people need, especially for the broad area and the scope that we have.
Sorry for jumping in on
Oh,
that.
no worries.
We want to be true to meeting people where they're at. It doesn't matter where you're at. We need to be able to have a staff that can modify for anything.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we picked up Coach Stevie from a gym that had closed just recently, RXD. Had such a legacy on the Anaheim, kind of CrossFit scene.
Yeah.
And she came on board and was quickly integrated, and she's been amazing.
Yeah.
Coach Dallas, we found
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have 2 hires off of LinkedIn.
Yeah. and they have been just amazing and
Dallas
just
and
soaked
Sutter.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Michael Martin too.
Well, Mike
we
Martin.
met him this morning.
Mike's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, because we did interviews over there too with the members that were over there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did you interview Mike? Because
Yes, I
he
did.
has such a breadth of like knowledge. He's been
Everywhere?
seven
Yeah.
gyms all
Wow.
since all the way down the East Coast.
Yeah. And I forgot to thank him for his service. And I was like, but yeah, I was like, hey, I know coaching and it's 8:02 and your class needs to start at 8. Is there any way? And he's like, yeah, it's 15 minutes. I think are you guys okay? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
Mike was a serendipitous find. Like, so I play after my baseball days ended about 15 years ago now. I started playing rec league softball. It's my way to get it out. It was what I
yeah.
did before CrossFit, the competitive side of CrossFit. And now at CrossFit, it's just like, I just want to go in and not die.
Yeah.
I have a young kid on our team who I met because I'm a sports memorabilia dork. So I met him at the card shop and he joined our softball team. And we were in the middle of, like, 'cause he plays the outfield and I was in the outfield with him. He's like, hey, I have this guy. I told him about your gym. I'm thinking, okay, he's got to be like 21. He's got to be this kid's age, right?
Yeah.
So he said that he's a CrossFit coach and he's looking for something. I was like, yeah, I'll give him an interview. Like, sure. And then we turn the camera on and it's Mike. And Mike's like mid to late 30s and super bearded, looks exactly like you would expect a military guy to look like.
Yeah. Because
And I was like, I looked at Josh and I was like, that is just like the shock of like who he was. And then getting to know Mike has just been amazing. Like Mike was the guy who's like, give me every hour you don't want. And
You
as
gotta
an
love that.
owner, I'm just like, oh, thank God. Like,
Yep.
if there's an hour that pops available, it's like, I got it. It's like, okay, great. Never complains. And his personality has just blossomed since he's been with us. Like,
Yeah.
he came in because, I mean, you military guys aren't known for their charisma.
Yeah.
But Mike came in, he was a little shy at first, and then he just took off into his own. And to have him is such a huge asset for us. To have him be a level 2 already and understand what we were looking for just allows our other staff to learn from him.
Yeah.
The breadth of knowledge that we have, and then being lucky to bring Colin over, who was Colin was the guy I was telling you about who made fun of me at CrossFit, and now he works with us. He's also a level 2 coach, and having him as a breadth of knowledge. So like, I told Josh at the beginning, what we need to do is always be ready for opportunity. And when opportunity presents itself, we shouldn't have to worry about all the things behind us to say yes or no. We should be able to just go, on its merits, does this make sense? Not on its merits, can we afford it? Because we're doing something wrong if we're not allowing ourselves to eat that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so every time something's popped up, we got to hire a Mike, we got to hire a Dallas, we got to hire a Colin. And the higher quality people you bring in, and I mentioned this at the beginning, the higher quality facility you're going to have.
Oh, yeah.
Because they give a shit. And more than anything else, that's the hardest thing to teach, is for people to give a shit.
Yeah. Because members can read it.
Oh,
they
yeah.
can know as soon as you're like,
Oh, yeah.
that's going to be a fun class. and
Which
I'm
is
gonna
why
have
it was
to do
funny that my
everything by
first
myself.
intro was like the timeshare salesman. Very on brand for how people assume I am when they first meet me.
I'm gonna make you a shirt.
Right.
Come by CrossFit Anaheim, timeshare.
All right. So we can get onto the fun stuff, which is, what is your favorite CrossFit move and what is your least favorite CrossFit move?
Always a great question because it
Anything
always
with your
changes like
ass?
every yeah.
Well, I guess in the
So
moment.
it would-
For today, I guess, what is your...
Josh has been trying to figure out how to use both of his ass cheeks while lifting since 2014.
since
Only
20
one works.
He's
Yeah,
just
only
been
one.
muted for like his entire life. And so when I was coaching, I was like, bro, we've got to fix this problem.
I may be dating myself, but do you remember those toys that you press under and then the whole body collapses there because it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
the pushing
yeah,
ones,
yeah,
yeah.
So I'm that guy with just the left leg. Yeah. Like my left glute
Exactly
just
it.
gives out, and
That's
then
the perfect analogy.
and then I'm just like crumble.
So like
It's
he'd fall
done.
apart and he'd walk in circles because one leg wasn't working and the other leg was catching up too fast. So
Yeah. So it was cleans was my favorite, and and then at a point where I think every now and then my left glute will give out, so I just forget it. Yeah. So my least favorite was a handstand walk until I figured it out. So
Oh, there
Yeah.
you go.
So my favorite is the snatch or overhead squat. I like the complexity of it. I like the concept of putting the complex, and then when you do it right, it just feels like butter, right? Like when you hit a snatch perfectly,
Snatch is my favorite
It's
too.
beautiful to watch too.
It really is.
just
Like watching
on
Olympic
there.
weightlifters do a snatch, I'm just like, the bar doesn't even look heavy. They don't look like they used like clean and jerk. When you get it to the shoulders, it always looks heavy, no matter who
Oh,
you
yeah.
are.
Yeah.
But the snatch, when done right, is just beautiful. I also like muscle ups a lot. My least favorite is anything that involves a squat to a press. So that would be a thruster
Yep.
or a wall ball.
Oh, you should see him do a wall ball.
If you ask Colin, if you were able to find him or call him on the phone, he could give you a story about how shitty my wall balls were for the first like 5 years in CrossFit, and how much he would yell at me. Like, don't let it, because I would go like off to one shoulder. Because being baseball, my right arm was the only arm that ever did anything. So my left arm would tire out. So then I'd like shift over.
This is
It's
my
better now.
hand.
It's much better now. But yeah, I hate anytime I see thruster or anytime I see wall
yeah.
balls. I'm like, why? Like, why? Why do I do CrossFit? This is so stupid. Like, I don't want to be here for this. And then I show up and I'm like, I still hate that movement, but it wasn't as bad as I imagined.
I was literally,
Yeah.
I walked over to her and I was like, Tracy, I literally just did a wall ball workout on Thursday and it was high volume. And here we are again with a big number and running. I feel like every time I drop in, there's running
Yep.
or a row.
Oh, and it's
And-
also 106 outside today.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I was like, you know what, Blake, you're going to do 600 meters. And then I'm following people. And I was like, he said something about a fire hydrant, but that's not 600 meters. And
you
then
just
I
did 800.
The benefit of not
everybody was
knowing the
like,
running course.
Yeah.
They're like, that's 800. I don't have my contacts or glasses. And so the little picture, I was like, you remember it? And I ran outside and it was so hot. I was like, I don't know where I'm at.
You just got to follow the herd.
Yeah. And they're like, that's 800. And I was like, mother.
I just did it.
And then you can't not do it for rounds, like the next
Yeah,
round.
no.
Yeah.
You have to keep
Well,
repeating.
I
it
was
too.
just so happy that there was just one round of
Yeah.
running because I was like, shit, I'm going to have to hit 800 meters every single stinking time. And I walked in and I was like, oh, baby Jesus, it's only 2.5 minutes
Yeah,
left.
you missed the three. We had a 3-rounder last week, 1,000-meter run, 50 wall balls, and then 25 box jumps for 3 rounds. So you missed that one. That would have been a
That's
worse.
horrible.
What programming do you guys go under?
We're using CAP. So because we believe in the CrossFit methodology, we've looked at everything else and we said this isn't CrossFit.
Tried it.
Yeah, we've
Tried
literally.
tried everything.
So when we took over Anaheim, we started. They were on what were they on before?
NC Fit.
NC Fit, and we're like, this is too much volume. Way too much volume for. We can't meet people where they're at when we're just chasing a clock. So we like, okay, Mayhem, and that was stupid because Mayhem is exactly the same thing.
Yeah, Mayhem
is nuts.
crazy.
I really think they go off of Rich Froning's ability to do things,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's not normal people, Rich.
No.
Like I love you, but I don't look like you. I can't. Like that's a lot.
Cody is Rich's biggest fan.
I am.
But when it comes to the programming and how it involves the community, or especially the coaches to set them up for success, where I'm just like, go do your 5x3. Hey, get up.
Right, like clock,
Yeah.
clock. And so,
man.
like, it's great if you can run that class and you're not looking for what we're looking for, but it doesn't fit in line with what we're doing. So I don't want that to be taken as like it's not great program. I think they do a lot of
yeah.
high quality work inside of that, and I think the information they provide you is great. It's just not in line with our goals,
Yeah.
right? So then we came into 1886 and they were using Proven, which is Tia Claire Toomey. And the this is taking a shot at Proven. The warm-ups make no sense within Proven. They don't like align with anything. They don't prep any kind of specific work, and they don't give you time to do it. It's like Mayhem, but with worse setup. And I don't have any issue with nobody caring who I am and taking that shot because that's what it is. And so we're like, okay, we need to make a change. And so we sat with the managers of our gym and we said, we need to make a change in line with where we're going. And our guy, Colin, who heads our coaches training essentially and preps all that kind of stuff for us, is like, we need to go to CAP. Like, there's no other answer than CAP. CAP is what you guys are wanting to do long term. And in our heads, we're just like, we need to hedge this. Like, we don't want to lose members. We don't want to do this and that. And then we went, no, we need to buy into our vision. The same concept, the same competence we lead into that with. Our coaches they're not complaining about this. It's just he and I going back and forth like, oh my God, numbers. We made the commitment at the beginning of August. And I think we had a drop off of a couple members because they were used to the strength Metcom piece. And like I mentioned earlier, we're up 24 members. Net 24 members.
Yeah.
Not that we joined 24. We are up net 24 members after that change.
Wow.
And it was just proof in the pudding just to commit to the vision, commit to what your staff is telling you is going to take you there.
Right.
The biggest thing for Josh and I is we don't come at this like owners. We come at this in a collective with our management team who's going at it with a collective with our staff. They're bringing up the information, the concerns, the comments, and things like that to us so that they have representation in our meetings. And they're the ones that we're like, we need to move this direction. And I was like, 100%. You guys are 100% correct. This isn't about ego. This isn't about what we're afraid of. This is about committing to the process. We did that, and the proof was in the pudding.
Wow. It is. I think sometimes like with proven, because I did individual. I liked individual, but individual and a class setting, completely different.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes they don't understand that. Really quick, going back to like affiliate and I mean, we're in September, so it's not recent, but I know that they went into dues going up and coaches, at least owners having level 2. Like, how did you guys feel about that?
Oh, I mean, it just fell in line with our vision, and it's not an issue. I'm actually having an issue with trying to find an L2 that I can do that's not local.
Josh wants to go somewhere else.
Yeah, like I want to go to Manila, Philippines to do my L2. So
there you go.
That's not an issue at all.
The fact that was a problem shows the issues we're having on the business side of this.
Yeah.
If you're doing the monthly payment, it went up from $300 to $375. If there's not $75 left in the month to throw in that direction, I don't understand what's going on. Like, your gym is running far too close to that red line.
Yeah.
And it's not a shot at people, but it's to say that there were too many people who got into CrossFit to run a gym and not to run a business. I can't support my membership if I'm not running a business.
Yeah.
That's the part we had to convince members of, because they're so used to this like bro-y gym feel that there's flexibility in numbers and to some extent there is. But again, am I devaluing everything else behind those numbers? And that's what we can't do.
You're not in a garage.
Correct.
Like when we first started, boxes started
100%.
in garages, and you just needed 4 walls. And if members want more things, things do cost, and we want them at the best ability to things, and not just like shortchange things. So that does come with a price.
Totally. And that's why like our first investment was we wanted to make sure we have a tax strategist. We want somebody doing our bookkeeping. We want somebody making sure that our numbers make sense. And then more than that, we want to make sure that people understand that this is a business first, but the business is for them. Business isn't for, like, Josh and I aren't going to be multimillionaires off of this business, at least not anywhere near in the short term. If it happens, that's because the brand developed and we created a name through the things that we did right on the floor.
Right.
But it's not about that. It's about, I have to make sure the numbers are okay, because if they're not, you lose everything, right? Like, ultimately, had we not stepped in when we did at CrossFit Anaheim, it wouldn't exist today.
Yeah.
Probably very similar situation here for 1886. And members our transparency that we are trying to give will let people know when we're struggling. It will let people know when we're doing well. And the members need to know that, because their buy-in is related to how well the business feels like it's doing, right? And so we need to make sure that there's a healthy concept, that they understand where everything's at. And it's a lot easier to say, hey guys, I've got to move the numbers up a little bit because we have cost increase. And they're like, no, we support you 100%, because they understand you're not pulling their leg, you're not doing this to make extra money off of them, that it's just it's a part of living. And then on our end, they know that we're looking at this going, if I got to charge you an extra $20 a month, what can I give you back in return that pays back for that difference?
Hair ties and pads.
Absolutely.
Especially on a double under day.
100%.
Right?
100%.
For real. Sorry.
But it's not even just that. Like, I think one of the big things that will show you the quality of a CrossFit gym is going to the bathroom. How clean is the bathroom?
Yep.
How clean is the floor when you walk out there? How clean is the equipment? How much do the coaches stay around to pick everything up?
Yeah.
That's going to tell you the health of the gym right there, because it's going to tell you how bought in those coaches are.
Yep.
It's a big one.
And we talked about price, and you have unlimited, but do you guys offer any other things like Oli, kids class? Like what?
Yeah, but we have a Olympic weightlifting. We have a barbell club that it's going to stand on its own.
Oh, nice.
Hopefully soon, as we develop that. But we also have functional bodybuilding. We'll be also adding different classes, but our main focus and really what we want to get our coaches on board is dialing in CrossFit as the brand and training methodology that we need to refine and for that member experience.
I have a shameless plug here. Do you guys watch The Bachelorette?
No.
Don't do it.
So there was a guy on it this season who he literally, the only thing he said every time he was on camera was keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it's this cliche saying, he's not saying anything, but really that's what it is on a business level. You need to make CrossFit the main thing, and then you could do other things from there, but that has to be healthy first. So we're doing a barbell club, but it's completely separate, revenue wing of what we do. And the coaches don't blend. So like the guy that runs our weightlifting program does not coach CrossFit, and CrossFit coaches don't teach that, which we'll have a geez, this microphone.
Just
keep forgetting it's there.
everything.
Our coach Sutter there, who we also found off of LinkedIn, used to be at SoCal weightlifting.
Okay, wow.
And he's one of the strength and conditioning coaches in Newport Harbor. A godsend to find with somebody at his level and expertise who is looking for something to be hungry for and start his own revenue stream for himself. We don't intermix those things yet because they need to develop on their own, and then we can say that they're going to come together. Now, the unlimited membership, when we come together, we'll have access to both things as part of the buy-in because we want the barbell members to also come participate with the rest of the class. You have to keep cohesiveness. I was going to say cohesivity, but I don't think it's a word. You have to keep the cohesion between the membership, right? Like you want them to feel like a family. So in that, we can't like exclude one way or the other. So that's a giant part of how we maintain those things. And so we offer that, but we're also going to be able to start bringing in, and we want to do like where once a month, maybe you could do a BJJ class and just have an instructor come in for a weekend and you run classes for the weekend. Just give access to other things. Like we have another guy who's a member who does hand-to-hand knife combat training and self-defense training for women. Cool. So the women will have access to that.
Yeah.
I want to do like concealed carry training where you have to go through like 1,000-meter row, you have to do 500 burpees, and then you have to shoot down target with a laser system to make sure that if you have, because those are real life scenarios.
Yeah.
And when you go to a shooting range, you don't get the adrenaline dump that you're going to have if you ever, God forbid, find yourself in that scenario.
Yeah.
So you might as well be able to put you under some duress and then make you go shoot something with a laser where you're in a protected, safe environment. But you're going to be able to feel that type of rush where your thinking is kind of off, but you have to make sure that you're dialed in because those situations are that impactful. God forbid you find yourself in something.
True.
And I'm all about making sure that you handle your own business any way you can. I want the women to feel like they can go outside and feel safe no matter where they're at because they understand how to go hand-to-hand combat and protect themselves. I want anybody who feels like they want to exercise their First Amendment or their Second Amendment right and carry a weapon to be sure that they're trained and that they're quality shooters because that is a giant responsibility to carry. But what's a bigger responsibility is protection of your family.
Yeah.
And so like those things are important that if we can build those concepts in, the other side of that is I can advertise the crap out of that. Like if I can sit there and say, hey, do you want to be able to go and kind of do these training methodologies and put them together for some real life experience or as close to real life experience? And we'll have police officers and all those other kinds of things want to come do stuff like that because it's the only way to get feedback that's as close to real without being in a simulator that costs $400 a session.
Hopefully a DJ class, maybe.
Yeah, Josh is going to be our in-house DJ for.
There you go.
We actually do
classes,
that.
Right?
Well, we do that for Community Day. So
I love
we've
that.
done that a couple times where I just come out and spin, and then we actually had one member sign up. They're like, "Hey, I like your set. I'm signing up."
Nice.
Our community days are also free for anybody to come in. So we don't charge for those days. You just sign a waiver, you come in, you get to taste the medicine and see if you drink the Kool-Aid.
Hopefully, get some people in. That's awesome.
Yeah. So going on to your community day, what are some of your events that you guys have, or do you have any events coming up?
Josh, the event
that you want listeners to know about?
So we've done every year we have Angels Day. We're going to grow that out to a bigger platform where all CrossFit gyms in our local area that we're going to promote to as a CrossFit night. We used to do that. We did that 7 years ago. And Lisa did a really good job of harnessing all of the CrossFit gyms around the area. So that was one thing. We had a picnic, a 1 year celebration. We have our holiday party, of course.
That's cool.
And that's actually going to be a traditional thing because as long as our team mom, Wendy, she's been gracious enough to hold it at her house, pending the community doesn't get way too big for her home. But she said she was like, I'm ready for 300 people. And I was like, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people at her house. I mean, they can fit it. Yeah, you can fill it. She has a really big home and backyard. So that's an annual tradition that we're going to, do in the second year for December. I'm missing a lot of like beach day.
Yeah, beach day. Yeah. We've done hockey night with the Ducks. And we're not just doing it like we all go to a hockey game. No. We're working it so we're actually inbuilt to the stadium with the organization. Right. So we were supposed to there was a 5K that was supposed to go off with Anaheim Police, the foundation, they call it?
Anaheim Police Association.
So it's basically the 501c3 that fundraises for police officers. Yeah. We're supposed to run that. There were some logistical issues, so that ended up having to be set aside and move dates. We did another one with Angels for their actual 5K, their support. one of our members is one of the high executives over there. So we're working with him to develop a real strength and relationship with them, because we want to attach ourselves to the city. And what better way to do that than through the organizations who are already attached?
Right.
And so the other thing that we're working on is building that same relationship with the actual city, right? Going into their town halls and like, hey, these are the things we want to do for you guys. How do we offer this to more people? But there's the hockey nights, those things. We want to develop, Josh is wanting to put together like what's called the box crawl. Where you're basically starting at one box and you have to run to all the different local locations and you kind of share that experience. But to get from one place to do each workout, you have to run.
Minus the running.
Yeah. So
minus the
bike.
one of the bigger things we want to start doing too is making it easier for parents to come work out who have with their kids, because summer happens, they don't know what to do with their kids are kind of displaced. So one of the things we're really mulling on too is being able to offer like a kids camp program during the summer. You can drop them off with somebody who's going to go through nutrition, fitness, financial stuff with them, and it's going to be like a learning experience.
Right.
But it'll be like a daycare where they can, part of their membership is going to include this access to that type of thing. That's still in the works of how that fleshes out and when we start to actually offer it. But it's one thing that's on there, because if I can get the parents to go, I can't find childcare anywhere like this that's going to teach these foundational items so that as they grow and develop, they're already going to have it ingrained in their head that I need to be healthy. I need to look at the food I'm eating. I need to make sure that physical fitness is important, but I need it to be fun, right? Those kinds of things. We want, like right now in the background of us, there's it's a club soccer team. I think they're 9 and 10-year-olds whose practice got canceled because of the heat. And so the cities were saying, you guys can't practice, it's unsafe, because the city doesn't want to hold the liability.
Right.
But we can put them indoors. Our space is big enough that they can come do things like that. So those are other events too that we're building into the community, because it's not just about the community in our door. It's going to be about the community outside our door too, and bringing those people in. Because if we want to hit that 1,100 people or more, we've got to be able to do that. So those type of events are like activation events.
Like I mentioned, we want to have city activations where we're in the park, and that's also integrated into the community of people that want to get outside of the box and go, you know what, I'm going to go meet some people outside and, and get them
because
involved.
being an adult and making friends is hard. And like whenever I've gone to different boxes, because my husband works for the railroad, so we've moved quite a bit, I was like, that's where I would find friends, because you can't just go to the grocery store and be like, hi, I'm Blake, you want to be my friend?
Right.
Like, that's
I have a feeling you would.
Yeah, no, but you would do that.
I
you
would.
would totally do that.
Because the way you said that was like it was practice.
And I've had people look at me like, okay, just because you saw I had a kid and you have a kid does not mean that we want to be friends.
I just needed eggs, and now I'm stuck in this situation.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, great.
He doesn't want to be my friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't go to this grocery store anymore.
Well, I think you hit on a larger overarching point of kind of where our culture and society is today. Is that, and this isn't a political ploy, it's if people are community based. That mental health of people is based on their ability to find a community and belonging. And unfortunately, where our society is some of those structures that used to carry that load, the churches and things like that, and they have their own problems as to why some of that has fallen apart. But people don't belong to churches like they used to. They don't belong to communities like neighborhoods don't create community like they used to. How many neighbors do you know that don't know each other and that live 50 feet from each other, right? CrossFit becomes easier because you're with like-minded people who are suffering in the same way, who have like-minded goals. And if not, you both get to look at each other at your worst moment, laying on the floor, that's ugly as you could possibly, drenched in sweat, slobber, and tears, and go, okay, life's not that bad. Like I can go out there and face whatever consequences come my way for whatever decisions I make, good or bad, right? That community aspect, more than any other part, is what fixes the mental health problem we have. Because when you feel connected to people, you don't feel isolated enough to do crazy things. And you have buy-in into everything else that's going on inside of your locale, right? Like the bigger idea with building in Anaheim proper isn't so that the gym gets as big as it can go. It's to say people want to move to Anaheim because this community means something, which means that my mental health will be better, my overall health will be better. I have people who care about me. And beyond that, I'm going to live longer. And then by those metrics, if we are involved in that at all, people are going to want to come to our gym.
Yeah. I mean, just like the members that I talked to, like the biggest thing was that the community is really strong. And they feel like you two have just like lifted it up and made it grow into something that was amazing. I mean, that was like the number one thing.
I love that.
That makes me feel good.
And then they said that like,
Made
they're
my day
like,
today.
Josh looked younger than Kody. That was
Well, you know,
That was the second highest thing
I
that
got a
everyone
face
said.
for radio, so this is perfect.
yeah, no. But it was nice to see, and we haven't been to one yet because when we do these, like we like to do the soft calls that we did with you, really get to know to see if it's something that we want, because we want affiliates that we're going to see growing, not staying stagnant, and what they're doing for members, because we're trying to get newer members and we're trying to also grow these affiliates, and how are they helping the community within and without. And it just seems that you guys are all around doing that and have such an amazing plan to reach out for that. And with like your plan of like healthcare and mental and financial, like that's the biggest one too nowadays is financial safety and stability. Like how can we do that if we're spending money on things to better ourselves? We need help with it. And so it just seems like you guys are answering the questions that need to be asked.
I mean, I already told Kody that I'm very excited to see where we're at in 3 to 5 years. I mean, only because of where we were 7 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even a year ago, right? Like even a year ago when we started this, I didn't think we would own two. We didn't really know what to expect, and we got into this and we're like, okay, opportunity, take it. Okay, opportunity, take it. To where, so Josh talked about Thomas.
Yeah.
And when we made this pitch of the first day we opened with them in our handbook, and we have like a SOP guidelines for our coaches, so everything is written down. There's no confusion about what the expectations are. In the first page, it says our goal is to reach that 0.003% of the city of Anaheim. Here's the population. Here's that number. And he's like, I looked at that and I was like, okay, these guys, like, man, like what, they're crazy. Like, one, we have a 2,000 square foot space. What? How in the heck? Even if you were able to do it, how are we squeezing those people in here?
Number three.
Yeah. And when we purchased 1886, in front of the staff that we were now interviewing to be a part of our family, he said, I don't know how we get there, but I believe it's possible now. Like, I've seen what's happened over the amount of time that we've all been together. I see it. And that's coming from a guy who's a high school math teacher, who coaches football, who's sacrificing 2 days a week to be here at 5 a.m. to be a part of this family. That to me is why we're growing. People like him who are like, I'll do whatever I need to do without sacrificing my family to be here and be a part of this community and pour into those members, because that's what matters.
Yeah.
That's why we've been successful, as coaches like that. And you've heard us talk about numerous of our staff, right? And they all are. They all are the heartbeat of what we do, why we've been successful, and why we're going to continue to be able to grow and do and action the things that we talk about, because the coaching staff absolutely gives a shit and they care about where they're at.
Well, they can see that you guys give a shit.
Right.
Like that's also like when you turn and you're like, okay, I'm the only one who really cares, and I don't have support to give support to. Like, what am I gonna do here? I can only carry so much. So if you guys have that for them, that of course they're gonna be like, I believe in everything that they're saying, because they've backed me no matter what. They know that I have jobs, they know I have kids, or I have other things, and they're like, okay. You know,
there might be slight misunderstandings here and there.
That's always human.
And I think it's just more of a being able to be open to the communication lines of like, hey, we're accessible.
Yep. Right.
We're very accessible.
People aren't used to that.
Kody always makes it apparent that we're open door, you know? And I mean, we're here in our classes. We're taking classes with the rest of the guys, you know? So
and it's that transparency that you guys have talked about, which not a lot of people like to cross that line of, well, they don't need to know everything. And I'm like, at times I'm like, I'm not asking for everything. I'm asking for a portion to be like, hey, this is what's going down. Are we going to fix it?
Nail on the head.
Yeah.
Absolutely nail on the head. And if people are feeling like people need to know everything, you're hiding something.
Yep.
You're looking for somebody not to uncover whatever it is you don't want them to find. So you're just going to blanket statement say, I don't want them to know everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we are doing behind the scenes that people couldn't know, right? If somebody asks it, I'll tell them. It doesn't make a difference. What do I care if they know what our return on the month is? They can sit there and be upset that we make that kind of money, but then I'm like, okay, so here's our rent cost. Here's what it costs to do this. Here's what it costs to do this. Here's what it costs to the staff. Here's what I take home, right? Which is zero right now. Like, because I have a backbone, I'm pouring as much money back into this as we possibly can, so that we can get the coaches where we want them to go. We can get Josh secure. We can get our new management team in place. Like, that's what matters to me.
If they only knew what I sacrificed for a year.
I know. Paying off though. It is paying off. And that's why Josh wants to cry every time he hears compliments about how we're building the community.
I haven't heard one bad thing.
No. I mean, whenever we have speech time on speech time at like holiday parties and whatever, I'm just like, give me 2 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, hand it off to Kody.
Start
Say the
crying.
rest.
But it is, and ultimately the truth is we do care. Like we care about every interact. The people who are upset, we're upset that they're upset, and not upset that they're mad at us or upset that they're complaining about. It's,
Right.
We're upset that we can't solve every problem, but we also understand that we can't cater to everything and everybody, and so we need the people who are here for us to be a part of this community, and then we're going to pour everything we can into them, like we keep mentioning, and the change in that buy-in is huge. When people are like, okay, I just need to commit to them, and then they're going to commit to me. It's a game changer and everything.
Yeah, and nowadays commitment is very sketchy in relationships.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
If I could get that commitment.
Well, speaking of commitment,
Uh-oh.
I'm like, how can people commit to you? Like, how can they reach out to you? How can they sign up? Like, any information on any listeners who haven't come to Anaheim CrossFit? What do they need to do to drop in?
Yeah.
How do they get involved with you?
All of that's on our website. I mean, you can find us both on CrossFitAnaheim.com and then temporarily, probably for the next couple months, on CrossFit1886.com. All of our drop-in information, our schedules on there. All our workouts are published weekly. So
nice.
that, for people, we have a huge drop-in contingency for the trade shows or Disneyland, stuff like that. So they'll be like, hey, I want to come in for a week. And then they're able to
I
kind
saw
of
your
pick and
week
choose.
drop in, and I was like, that's really
awesome.
cool to
Yeah.
have that option
So
too.
then, we have t-shirt and drop-in bundles, stuff like that. And we're going to be releasing drop-in exclusives because we have a lot of returning people that come in yearly for trade shows. So they're able to easily have access to us once they come back.
Eventually to be like a lifetime drop-in membership where
Right.
you pay once for an X amount of money and you can drop in for free for the rest of your life.
Oh, that's pretty
And that's
good.
what we were driving out here and we were talking about coaching and things like that. And I was like, I get really excited and a little anxious when drop-ins come because I want them to get everything and
Right.
feel like they love their home gym, but they love to come back to this gym because it feels just like home or even better.
Oh, yeah.
Because we get a lot of foreigners where we live because we live off of Route 66.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I'm always like, why here though? I love that you're here, but
How did
it's
you
the
find
middle
us?
of
Yeah.
the desert.
Yeah.
But it's nice because we live an hour and 30 from Vegas. So they're always like on the way to Vegas or Route 66. But it is like, I want that where they're like, I was coached amazingly that this is like my home box and I want to keep coming back to it when I'm out here.
And you touched on one other thing too for us is that we are pure 5-star reviews, over 170 now.
Oh,
5-star
wow.
reviews. The only one that I know of, North Orange County, that has a perfect
110.
5-star review score on Google.
That's amazing.
Part of that is because we actually ask. And our coaches are bonus when they are named in a 5-star review. They get a bonus for being named in that.
Nice.
And it also leads to constant feedback from the membership, like wanting to talk about their coaches.
Yeah.
So I think if for anybody, that's the biggest change that's super simple to put in there is just ask for feedback and reviews if you guys can get them. That makes it a lot easier to
helps.
receive the drop-ins and have them understand the coaching they're going to get is going to be quality. So that's big there. And then the only other point I wanted to add on where to find us was if you're looking on Instagram, it's CrossFit Anaheim _1. Because 10 years ago, Instagram locked up the original one, and we still haven't been able to get it back.
Yeah, that sucks.
So it's
we're gonna have to pay money for that.
Yeah,
So.
we will eventually.
We'll link everything also in our show notes for you guys to look at and come find them out because it's an awesome place to drop in. And either one of them, loved both of the facilities.
So I also want to say anybody who's listening to this podcast and this is the reason they dropped in, we'll do like a half off of the drop-in fee, whether it's a week, whether it's a day, whatever it is. So anybody who comes from your guys' podcast mentions your guys' podcast to us when they drop in, we'll do a half off for them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, hey,
Just
we're
text,
going to a California trip.
Yeah, if they're Googling CrossFit Anaheim or 1886, that number is textable, so they can just text us.
Exactly.
Oh,
Just
sweet.
mention
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Of
thank you
course.
guys for that.
And then the last question is, how do we help you guys? How can we help you guys get out to more people? How do we help you guys grow? What is there that CrossFit Anaheim can offer
Oh,
to
we've never
you
gotten that
guys?
question.
Yeah, ever. I was like,
I would say just continuing to I brought some flyers aside from posting some flyers to let your team know, but I would say just reaching out to the people in your gym and just letting them know about it, or even incoming people that are new or just starting CrossFit who have no idea about anything.
yeah, because we have episodes of like coming, if you're new, what to expect. We go over verbiage and things like that. And it just, we're trying to get more of like the newer incomers and a little touch on the veterans, but like trying to grow their knowledge and not be as like, am I gonna like this?
Right.
Should I just do 3 classes? Because like in some of our episodes, I'm like, I do 3 months with everything and then evaluate and continue.
Right.
And see where I need to grow from that. And then in my 6 months, I do another evaluation and stuff like that. Yeah.
Your guys'
That would be amazing.
I just want to say,
access.
and I was telling a couple of you, well, anybody that I could talk to, I was like, they have been the most helpful. We haven't been to an affiliate that hasn't, but you guys have been like the most helpful and the most like we've been thankful so much for things that you've helped us with. And like I was like, they're the ones who made us like really stop kicking the dirt about the merch stuff and stuff like that, because
we're learning as we go. We're still very new, and I feel like learning the technology, learning how to like also interact with coaches and all of that. So we're learning as we go, and whenever somebody offers some advice and guidance, we're open to it. So I appreciate it for everything, for your time, for
thank you guys
for the opportunity. This is great.
The reason we're pouring back into you guys because you made it a point to come out from Arizona. You guys made this about us. Normally it's the other way around for us, but genuinely the reason we're here is the networking, right? And so the more that I can plug you guys in, the more that we can grow you guys. That's also better for our episodes. So that's all great too, right? It's a double-edged sword. But you guys have been phenomenal. I appreciate your guys' care, coming out and caring about our community the way you did. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it was a blast. And
So, well, thank you guys. I appreciate the time.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, that was a really good episode.
Right?
I love sitting down with them.
I know I had a lot of fun visiting and getting a chance to know everybody. Everyone was so receptive and so willing to, be a part of the little interviews and whatnot. So we're just grateful to have had the chance to meet everyone and also get to learn a lot about the philosophy that is CrossFit Anaheim, because they have such a great goal ahead of them. And we're just excited to hear more about it. So wishing you guys a lot of luck in your future.
Yeah, and don't forget, in the show notes, we will be putting their links. If you do a drop-in and you tell them that it is...
mention us.
Yep, that you heard from Savagely Scaled, they'll give you 50% off of a drop-in rate. And they do a week drop-in rate and a day. So it's really cool that they offer that, because I know people travel. So I think that's what's starting to happen. I've seen it more and more. But the fact that they're giving you guys, our listeners, 50% off, I would go check them out, because they're growing like crazy.
Hey, if you want to go to Disneyland and get a workout before you head out.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Right?
But a shout out to you guys for listening, and to my co-host, Joycey.
Yeah.
And thank you so much to CrossFit Anaheim.
Thanks, Josh.
Yes. But if you feel like this podcast is your swig of pre-workout, don't forget to follow us.
That's right.
Write a review. The only reviews we can see are on Apple Podcasts. You can give us 5 stars on Spotify, or if you listen on Spotify podcasts, you can write comments on all of our amazing episodes.
Yeah, do it.
Yes, we love reading everything. I love texting Joycey in the middle of the day and be like, oh my gosh, we got a new follower. Oh my gosh, you want to see what this person
I'm
said?
like, I'm innovating.
Yep. Yes. And
Makes our day.
follow us also on Instagram and TikTok at Savagely Scaled. You can also write us an email if you have anything that you want a topic to be talked about, something for us to try, whether it is clothing, a pre-workout, creatine, some form of something to just try the flavors for you. We're willing to do that. And our email is at savagelyscaled1, the number 1, at gmail.com. And if you ever, we are looking for sponsors, so feel free.
Right? Just saying. Just having that little...
Yeah. And remember, don't be a Karen. Be a Sharon.
That's right.
Yep. Always be Sharon. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Sharon is Karen. And until
we meet
at the whiteboard again. Bye.